Hey y'all, it's Io here from Noodle Nook, and I'm coming at you today with 9 ways that you will absolutely fail inside of your autism, special ed, or life skills classroom. 9. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a little hard to pick the 9. I have seen some things. So I'm gonna tell you 9 things that I see that I can guarantee will make you fail. If you're doing one of these 9 things, you've got to figure out a way to stop right away. That will save you inside of your special ed classroom. So let's get started. Number 1. You don't know your kids. Okay, I know. We love our kids. We know our kids. Our students are like our babies. We love them, we know them, but I have been in some classrooms with some kids who are having behavior, and I'll ask the teacher, hey, why do you think they're doing this? And they'll be like, oh, they just do it because. Ooh, you don't know your kid. There's a function behind that behavior. I'll be in another classroom and a kid will be working. What are they working for? They don't like anything. They like something. You might not know your student. We've got to know our students in order to be able to maintain their behavior, improve their academics, and write functional and meaningful IEPs. So if you don't know your students, you're going to fail in your classroom. I can guarantee it. Meh. All right, number 2, no visuals. You've heard me say this before. Our students with autism need to have visual supports in the classroom. If there are no visuals, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. It's going to be failure. There's failure without visuals. Ironically enough, I was in a classroom a few years ago and the teacher didn't have any visuals, and I was like, hey, maybe you'd like to add some visuals in the classroom to help support the students. And he looked at me like, well, look, my kids know what to do, so they don't need any visuals. Huh? I'm a grown-up. I'd like to think I'm a grown woman. And I'm going to tell you right now, I cannot survive without visuals. I have Post-it notes. I have lists. I have visual supports around me all the time. I need visuals. We've got to presume that a student who's trying to learn to be more academic, independent, and functional is going to need visuals. If you got no visuals, you're going to fail. Number 3, no routine. Oh. I've walked into classrooms and I've asked students, what are you guys working on today? And the student has looked at me and goes, I don't know. I've got to tell you, if there's no routine in your day in your classroom, you're going to fail. We all cling to routines. I can tell you right now, if somebody gets me out of my morning routine trying to get to work, I'm not going to make it on time. Just one little misstep and it messes up my entire morning. So I'm going to tell you right now, you have got to have routine in your classroom, because that predictability is going to be able to support your students as they're trying to make it through their academics, improve their behavior, and really make advances in your classroom. So if you have no routine, you're going to fail. All right. Number 4, low expectations. You've probably seen one of my other YouTube videos here where I've talked about what low expectations do to students. Low expectations are a killer. If you are one of those people, or you have an aide or support person in your classroom who does not believe in the students, they have low expectations and don't think they can do it, the students don't understand, they're not capable of doing any learning at all, we're just overpaid babysitters waiting for graduation day. If those are the expectations that y'all have, you are going to fail. And it's not just about the academic stuff. We might have students who are challenged academically because of their intellectual disability to make huge gains in a single year. I get that. But sometimes it's the other stuff, like a student being able to voice yes or no, pick out food in the cafeteria line, do steps independently as part of hand washing. Just those independent living skills where we sometimes remove the expectation because we've done it for them for so long that we no longer even assume they can do it. Failure. All right, so let's talk about number 5, inconsistency. Oh my God, I'm going to tell you right now, that will drive behavior like nothing else. Let me paint a picture for you here for a second. If by chance, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I've got laundry all throughout my house that needs to be done. It's waiting for me right now. I can see it out of the corner of my eye. If you've got laundry in your house and you came home from work one day and it was all folded, washed, folded, and put away, and nobody in your house did it and you have no idea how it got done, would you wash them the next time there were big piles, or would you hope for the magic fairy to do it for you? Yeah, I would never wash again and be like, eventually they're gonna come. So to pull it back to the classroom, when a student exhibits a behavior and it gets them something they want one time, that's all it takes. That one time of getting something from non-preferred behavior reinforces the behavior to no end. Like I said, if I ignored all of my laundry and then one day I came home and it was all done, I'm not going to be jumping to do laundry again. That one time where my behavior got reinforced with positivity, it's over. So if you're inconsistent with how you reward students, either by giving them positive praise for negative behavior, negative praise for positive behavior, or any other combination, failure. You've got to be consistent with what behavior elicits what response from the adults in the room. That consistency really matters. All right, so 6. Are you working on any academics in your classroom? Are your students doing authentic learning? Are they learning new skills? Or are they just parked with nothing to do? Failure. If your students are sitting around in the classroom just with you, and you have no academics or learning or new skill that you're working towards, your students are just passing time, you're not going to be successful. You've got to remember, we've got to presume that our students are in there mentally. They have the cognitive ability and skill to learn new things. We just have to modify how we deliver it to them or what the expectation is, whether that's giving it to them in small chunks, smaller number of work, less amount of time at work, but we've got to always come at it with the assumption that the students can do the work and they can learn a new skill. So if you're not doing any academics or your students are doing minimal learning, you're gonna fail. All right, number 7 is a little bit of a piggyback, but I see it all the time in classrooms. Students are busy, but they're not learning anything new. This could look like student is working on X task box for the 7,000th time this week. Fail. There's no new learning in that. And I understand there is a space and a place for practicing repetitive skills in order to reinforce them and get to generalization. But if your student is doing, I don't know, a sorting task that they've mastered 1,000,000 times over because they've done it 1,000,000,000,000 times, then that is just busy. We're just busy. We're not learning. And although that might look good, it's not what's best for the students. So that was number 7, busyness. Number 8 is parking. Parking. I call it no parking, and I hope you understand that. Sometimes our students are just pushed up near the action, but they're not actually engaged in any of the activities. They have really good parking space, but they're not actually doing anything. Oh, that drives me crazy. So we've got to make sure that when we've got our students to where they are in a learning space or in a social space or near the action, they've got a way to participate. They've got to have a way to communicate with peers, communicate in that environment, and really participate in a meaningful way. Otherwise, failure, because they are just at a good parking spot. They're not actually learning or doing anything authentic. And that's just not enough. All right, so number 9. Number 9. If you're doing this in your classroom, it's definitely a failure. If you have made no thought or included anything about transition. I know, right? Transition planning is like one of those things where it's almost like a buzzword, right? Like, what are the students going to do after they age out? And everybody's like, I don't really know, but let's write something in the IEP. No. It's a little thing like if a parent is telling you that a student is never going to live independently, always going to live with mom and dad, so therefore never has to learn how to do any cooking or any cleaning. Well, we've got to honor that transition plan for the parents and for the student, that we're not doing things that are wasting their precious learning time. However, the other side of that, and I totally understand, right? We've got some parents who say, oh, my kid is always going to live with me and never going to be by themselves. And we have to do a little reality check and say, hey, what happens when you're no longer capable of caring for them and they do have to do some independent living? What will happen for them then? So there is a little bit of two sides to that, but we've always got to make some kind of understanding and allotment for functional and independent living skills as part of transition for a student. Whether they're going to work, whether they're going to do a day hab program, whether they're going to stay at home, we've got to understand their transition plan, so we're making good classroom decisions for them and using their precious classroom time and instructional minutes for something that's going to be meaningful for them. So if you are not considering transition, you're going to fail. All right, so let's recap real quick. I have to make sure I get all 9 of these. If you don't know your kids, if you don't have any visuals, bam, bam. If there's no routine, there's low expectations, if you're inconsistent with how you reinforce behavior, if you have minimal learning or academics in your classroom, if the students are busy but not actually learning, if your students are parked, or if there's no thought for transition, failure. So listen, if any of these sound like things that are going on in your classroom, maybe it's time to reach out and get a little support, or at least be mindful about acknowledging and correcting those failure moments that you're having with any of those 9 things. Improving those 9 will make your classroom run better. And let's face it, if our classrooms are running better, then we as teachers are just doing better. We are able to better address the needs of our students. We're better parents at home. We're better partners for our spouses and significant others. We do better when our classroom runs better. And I can tell you, addressing these 9 things will make your classroom run better and your students will be more successful. I promise. Guarantee. I guarantee. So what do you think? What do you think about this 9? Give me some feedback in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. I always tell you guys we're going to be putting out videos. Make sure that you subscribe. And then check out all the resources and materials that we have on the Noodle Nook website. That's www.noodlenook.net. All right, y'all. Stay strong and teach on. I'll see you next time.